guys and gals, Nary here from Drakewing Gaming, and some of you may on Twitter, the Gaming Dragon. I'm on my break right now, and it's time to come back at you another Let's Play episode of Temptation's Ballad. So, y'all, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Alarm Chan, you are up, and let's go. Alright, Town Square Plaza. Okay. Sorry, I love how these look like miniatures. It's so cool. Finally, a crowdless street. Cole breathed a sigh of relief as he pushed his way into the spacious fountain plaza with a sizzling grilled meat kebab in each hand. Festivals were fun and all, but he preferred his toes untrampled. He had lost track of Sid and Arby when he hopped off the Badger's shoulders to buy some snacks from the food stalls. Just one blink and the crowd swallowed them up like a violent ocean wave. Cole sighed and sat on the edge of the fountain, munching his kebabs absent-mindedly. At least he had the chance to enjoy his food in peace. The three of them had agreed to meet up around the sporting arena for a jousting and brawl tournament later. Finding them again should be simple enough. You just hope the two of them won't get scammed while he was gone. Cole blinked and glanced around the street. Soul's Arcane Curiosities was just a short walk away. Maybe he should pay Clyde a visit. He shook his head furiously. Nah, he probably doesn't want to see me again anyways. Better avoid making any more trouble than I already have. He took another bite of his kebab. Cole absent-mindedly rummaged around his pockets. Well, here's that second helping of snacks you begged for. You better be grateful, you little... Huh? Noodle? You there? No answer. Huh. Little shit must have sneaked out while I wasn't looking. Oh well, one less problem for me to deal with. Cole munched on his food as he sat in the middle of the plaza. He became self-consciously aware of how awkward he appeared, sitting all by himself in the middle of a festival. His surroundings felt uncomfortably quiet. The sound of his own chewing was deafening as he shuffled awkwardly in his seat. He glanced around, unsure if anyone was watching him. Cole let out a long sigh. I really shouldn't be left alone with my thoughts like this. Where the fuck did everyone go? He gnawed on the wooden stick of his kebab quietly. Could really use a distraction right about now. Ah, it appears my locate creature spell has found its mark. We meet at last. Stand up and face me, you traitorous, ungrateful scum. Okay, maybe not this kind of distraction, Cole thought bitterly as he squinted. Oh, hello. A foppish young man was strutting across the plaza towards him. A striped hyena, looked about a year or two older than Cole. His clothes were shiny with expensive woven fabric, and his hair appeared as though he spent hours combing it to perfection. This guy was clearly a noble, and around 5'10", too. He also had the most punchable face I have ever seen, Cole quietly noted. As the noble approached, his smug and punchable face fell when he caught sight of Cole. Wait, you're not... I was sure the spell was working correctly. He crossed his arms with an impatient huff. I should be looking at a dim-witted, one-eyed brute instead of some unwashed peasant. Cole grumbled quietly to himself. So you even bother talking to this guy? Yeah, might as well. Not like he's got anyone else to chat with anyway. Who are you calling an unwashed peasant? The other hyena scoffed. Do you see any other naked scoundrels in rags around here? What kind of preposterous excuse for clothes are you wearing? Cole smirked and he adjusted his seating position so that his legs were spread wider. Oh, I just have nothing to hide. Most folks like what they see. He stared up and down the other hyena with an unimpressed glance. I can see why you would bundle up with a bunch of expensive and frilly nonsense, though. Gotta distract folks from your shortcomings, eh? The noble clutched his chest, utterly offended. Excuse me, I will have you know that I am quite the charmer amongst my peers. Oh, a noble who actually knows how to have fun? How scandalous. That's not what I mean. The noble crossed his arms and puffed up his chest indignantly. I do not have to answer to a lowly commoner like you. Do you have any idea who you are speaking to? Nope, but I have a pretty good idea of who you're looking for. What do you want with my papa? Oh, one second, sorry. Papa? The noble's jaw dropped in a shocked gape. He had children? Yep. Holiday Bonebreaker, at your service. Cole bowed comically with his meat kebab still in his mouth. What can I do for you, jackass? The noble stared at him for several moments in disbelief. You don't look anything like this Bonebreaker man that grandfather described. He's supposed to be this big, hulking barbarian, a beastly warrior who was an utter menace to society. One second, y'all. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. You're just some measly runt. Are you sure you're truly his kin and not some stray he picked up off the side of the street? Cole scowled. The words dug under his skin more than he cared to admit. Well, I definitely inherited the menace to society part. So who are you, and what do you want with Marrow Bonebreaker? If you're one of those fanboys begging to be stepped on, Papa does fan meetups every other week. The noble wrinkled his nose at Cole as though he had smelled something foul. I don't need to explain myself to the likes of you. Now tell me where I can find this Marrow Bonebreaker. I was simply on my way to the jousting tournament when I found myself in these disgusting and lowly streets. It was a good chance to catch a glimpse of this uncivilized beast en route. Papa doesn't come out during the Firefly Festival. Pompous nobles like you give him an allergic reaction. The reaction is usually a punch to the face. Well then, he certainly lives up to his barbaric reputation. Cole crossed his arms defensively. Yes, his reputation of being a strong yet kind warrior to his fellow man. Restorer of communities and destroyer of the greedy. I'm pretty sure you've got no right to talk down to him, you pompous little shit. What have you ever done? The noble scoffed and brushed his hair dramatically. You mean you don't know who I am? Surely you jest. I am the great Calder O'Shaughnessy, sole heir to the renowned House O'Shaughnessy. My house is known across the land for their great magical prowess. My grandfather has assisted the late King Roderick himself in countless arcane projects and research efforts. My late uncle has worked closely with the church and become an utter prodigy amongst his magical peers. You will do well to respect your betters, commoner. Cole squinted. Unimpressed that the other hyena rambled on in his face. Wowee, what an accomplished family. So what have you done? The noble froze. A taunting smirk spread across Cole's face. Ah, you've got nothing, do you? If you had anything worth mentioning, you would have prattled on about it by now. I will have you know I have plenty of accomplishments to my name. An unwashed peasant like you wouldn't understand. No, I think I get it. An accomplished noble arcanist wouldn't be sent to commoner streets like this. You wouldn't even be attending the jousting tournament. You'd be invited to a big fancy party in the noble district right now. But you weren't worth inviting, eh? Calder winced and took a step backwards. What an accomplished family you've got. Must be a lot of pressure to live up to their magical deeds. Excuse me, but you weren't good enough, were you? So now you're off to the jousting tournament to make a name for yourself. Maybe if you win, you'll finally have something worth bragging about. Do I have the gist of it? Calder gaped at him for several long moments before clearing his throat. He adjusted his collar distractedly. What a wild imagination you have, commoner. You must think yourself clever. Cole shrugged. Not really. Just warning you, buddy. Going around calling folks unwashed commoners might make you feel a little better, but it sure ain't gonna win you many friends. Cole wolfed down the last of his kebab with a sly grin. Say, word on the street is that a bunch of magical rubies went missing. Rubies that could provide a mage desperate for strength and status with some much-needed power. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you? The other hyena's ears perked up with interest before quickly lowering with caution. I have no need for such trinkets. Any accomplishments I achieve will be gained by my own power. Cole watched the noble closely. His reactions don't appear to be of recognition or an attempt to hide anything. This guy didn't have the best poker face anyhow. The chances of this Calder secretly being the cloaked mage seemed unlikely, but Cole couldn't say for sure. Think whatever you'd like, Runt. My magical prowess at its worst will still be miles above you at your best. I'd sure hope so. I can't even do magic. The noble blinked in surprise. That can't be right. My arcane senses are keener than most. You most certainly have traces of spellcasting on you. That brute may be an utter disappointment, but I commend the fact that he managed to sire a child with at least a tiny hint of magical potential. Creator knows he certainly didn't have the talent for it himself. 1 second, y'all. Water time. Alright. Delicious coconut water. Cole's hackles rose. Sounds like your senses aren't as good as you think. I've never casted a single spell in my life. His jaws tensed as Calder leaned closer with a curious frown. No, you absolutely have the hallmarks of a spellcaster. And I'm telling you that you're absolutely wrong. Calder glared at Cole with a mixture of confusion and disbelief. His voice shook with agitation. What a bold-faced lie, and a reasonless one at that. Magical strength is the pillar upon which a person's worth is weighed. You are already a lowly peasant. Why do you deny yourself this tiny sliver of value? Yeah, maybe to nobles. Around here, we put more stock into how not an asshole people are. Which I'm not winning any prizes for, but I'm still leagues ahead of you there, buddy. The other hyena growls and shakes his head in frustration. You don't even understand what you're saying, do you? Magic is everything. Some people devote their entire lives into arcane studies. Endless days and nights spent meticulously studying arcane tomes in hopes of gaining the smallest scrap of magical strength. The militant paradings and beatings we endure should we fail to meet expectations. And you, who was born with a potential for magic, so carelessly discarding your own gifts. This is an insult to everything my family and I stand for. Calder panted breathlessly, fangs bared with infuriated frustration. Cole glared back at the other hyena coldly. He had certainly hit a sore spot. I don't know what you're rambling about, but let me make this very clear. I am not a mage. Capiche? Calder growled, his shoulders shaking with sheer rage and disbelief. That man has truly poisoned your mind, hasn't he? Just because he was a failure of a mage doesn't mean he has to drag the rest of us down with him. Oh, there's not a problem, is there? The two of them suddenly jumped. Oh! Hamish was standing behind Cole, arms crossed with a stern expression. Calder suddenly looked terrified. You! As I said, is there a problem? The noble took several steps back. All that aggressive rage instantly evaporated to nervous fear. No, none whatsoever. Why would I even waste my time quarreling with you low-born folk? And what makes you think you have the right to speak with me? Hamish continued staring flatly at the flustered noble. There's a bruise on your cheek. Where's it from? Calder's hand leapt to his face with surprise. That's none of your business. I've wasted enough time here with you lot. I'll be taking my leave. Hamish nodded and bowed curtly. Very well. Please give Gaius O'Shanassy my warmest regards. Calder looked shocked and hesitated for a moment. Huh. After a beat, he quickly fled the plaza without another word. Cole watched the whole exchange with a raised brow. What was all that about? Hamish shrugged. Not much. Just figured I'd step in before you bit off more than you could chew. I can handle myself just fine. Of course you can. I just wanted to be nosy. Cole stuck his tongue out. You're always nosy. Speaking of being nosy, how do you know this asshole? Hamish stole a quick glance across the plaza at Calder's retreating figure. Well, I don't know this young man specifically, but I did work for his family for some time in my youth. You did? You don't seem like the type who'd make nice with nobles. Hamish smirked. Make nice? The last time I saw Gaius O'Shanassy, the man was screaming with an arrow sticking out of his shoulder. Marrow is not the only one around here with an allergic reaction to nobles. What? You're looking at me funny. Nothing. I just realized that I don't really know much about you. Hamish shrugged. You never asked. Cole scratched his neck and stared at his feet awkwardly. Yeah, I guess not. He cleared his throat loudly. Anyway, what are you doing out here in the Firefly Festival? You never seem like the celebrating type. I've been tailing you. What? Why? Hamish shot Cole a stern look. The cloaked mage obviously knows you possess one of the missing rubies. If they catch sight of you out in public like this, they might make a move to take it back. 1 second, y'all. Water. You've been using me as bait? You've made yourself into a piece of bait. I'm merely here to make sure you don't get snatched. Speaking of which, you really shouldn't be traveling alone like this. Oh, please, nobody's going to make a move on me in broad daylight in the middle of a crowded festival. Hamish shook his head firmly. You'd be surprised what people can pull off, especially if this mage is as strong as you claimed. Just promise me that you'll stay with your friends whenever possible. It'll make me worry a little less. Speaking of which, the elder hyena rummaged through the many pockets of his cloak. After a beat, he pulled out a small spool of metallic wire and handed it to Cole. Here. Yeah, I figured you should have this. Cole squinted at the spool of wire suspiciously. If you're trying to drag me into one of your fishing trips again... No, it's a trap wire made of pure aetherite. It's a metal that conducts magic and spells very efficiently. Since you're not exactly an offensive spellcaster, you might find this kind of subterfuge tool useful. Cole glared between Hamish and the spool. He reluctantly stuffed it into his pockets. You never stop being a mother hen, do you? Well, thanks, I guess. Hamish blinked in surprise. Who are you, and what did you do to Cole? I don't think I've ever heard you thank me unsarcastically. Cole puffed up his chest indignantly. Oh, this is what I get for being nice for once. Don't expect it again anytime soon. With a huff, he stomped his way down the plaza. Hey there, hey, where are you going? To find Artemy and Sid. I'd rather not have you tailing me all day. Go be a mother hen somewhere else. Hamish stared at Cole's retreating figure with an incredulous look. He actually listened for once. I mean, his attitude's still as foul as ever, but he listened. Marrow, what kind of talk did you give him? Now that their arms were stuffed with festival snacks and food, they better start searching for suspicious folk in the area. Where should they start? I need some time alone. Oh. Sid wanted to think that he was just absent-mindedly browsing the festival stalls and lost sense of direction. He wasn't deliberately distancing himself from Artemy as they struggled to push through the crowd. That would be petty. Sid never thought of himself as a jealous kind of guy, but the begrudging resentment that raked through his chest while Artemy was around proved otherwise. He didn't want to feel that way, but the sensation bubbled up inside him like an intrusive thought. Sid sighed and glanced at the crowd behind him. Artemy was nowhere in sight. She probably got swept away by the festive masses as she was struggling to find him. I'll just look for her later. I could use some space right now. What in the world are you doing? Huh? Sid jumped at the sensation of something slithering up his arm. You said earlier that you were getting more food. Why are you just stumbling about like a fool? Oh, hey, Noodle. What are you doing here? My name is Malice. Curse this horrid nickname. And I sensed that my puny mortal was going on another one of his moping sessions, so I decided to accompany you instead. Little did I know that you'd be doing the same thing. Mortals are so determined to waste what little time they have in their lives. I will never understand it. Noodle shook his head in dismay as he coiled himself comfortably on Sid's shoulders. So, what ails you, buff mortal? Are you struggling with daddy issues as well? Huh? No, I'm fine. Just needed some space, you know? Sid watched with fascination as the snake flicked his tongue towards him suspiciously. Lies. I've studied mortal emotions with my siblings for some time, and I sense great turmoil within you. Really? Are you like an emotional support familiar? Alright, I'm going to go ahead and pause it right there. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit notification bell. Leave a super thanks. Your tip if you can, it always helps. Until the next video, I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.